Hello everyone, and now welcome to a game between Fly and WFZ, game taking place here on Last Refuge. Here we see Fly spawning as the red orc player on the top right hand side of the map, meanwhile WFZ spawning as the blue undead. Once again, there are no observers. This is going to be a standalone game, one of one. I'll try to make that clear in the title so my dedicated viewers don't try and find the follow-up game, as well it will be near impossible to find. Well, let's see. I believe my daughter wants to say hi before she goes back and does some homework.
Hi.
All right, please go back and do your homework. Okay. All right, so what's going to be happening here in this orc versus undead matchup? That is the key questions here as things are getting underway. What are the long-term strategies, and what can we really expect? Most likely another Blade Master versus Undead matchup. Nothing too out of the ordinary or strange about that. But it is going to be a big question on how these players get to that mid-game and who's going to be able to execute that strategy better. Alright, excuse me as I swallow a pill. That took a little bit longer than I thought it would. Anyways, let's break things down here. Barracks coming into play. You can see that Voodoo Lounge once more. Orc Burrow and the showing of the Voodoo Lounge here means that we are going to be stuck at one Orc Burrow for quite some time while we start taking to a stronghold. Now, in this undead matchup, are we going to be taking a look at a Tauren Chieftain as the third hero in order to get some good stomps? It is actually one of the few strategies that can work out for an orc player just because the Tauren Chieftain is such a high hit point based hero. Hero nuking, as long as you're able to limit the Death Knight and that Lich to level 2 Death Coil and Frost Nova, the damage doesn't really scale that quickly, and you can kind of control and contain that on a Tauren Chieftain, especially if you also have a Potion of Lesser Invulnerability. Now coming back across here, let's take a look. We are going to be taking down that one particular Ogre Warrior, as the Blade Master does pick up a Ring of Protection +2. He's going to sell the Scroll of Town Portal, heal himself up, also picks up a Speed Scroll, as that Ring of Protection +2 will grant him effectively 12% more effective hit points, as he does go ahead and Wind Walk and pick up that Circlet of Nobility as well. Circle of Nobility, very, very important, as we now see him go after this Death Knight here. One key thing to note though, the Ring of Protection +2 was in fact sold as the Death Knight, now looking to perhaps wander around. Perhaps he knows that the Blade Master is nearby, going to be going after that Acolyte right there and getting in some easy shots. Acolyte down to, 61 hit points, and it will get taken down by the Death Knight. No experience really for that Blade Master, but he does end up getting a Skeletal Minion. Death Knight now being forced to wander back here. Skeletal Minion timer has come to an end. Death Knight, well, is he going to be able to finish off this Ogre Warrior right here? That is the big question. Death Knight may try and steal that last bit of experience. As you can see, there's the Death Coil. Item still picked up. Wait, no. Item picked up by the Death Knight. I'm not quite sure how he did it, but he was able to somehow ghost past the Forest Troll Trapper, or not the Forest Troll Trapper, the Grunt and the Blade Master, pick up the item, and that item being a Claws of Attack +6 would have done very, very well for that Blade Master. Alright, we'll see what the follow-up play is going to be here. Death Knight taking a bit too much damage for now. No easy way to heal it, save for the replenishment potion that is currently on him, as he may try and use that here in just a little bit, but he does want to replenish a bit more mana as well, as the Death Knight often is low on mana in the early stages of the game. We are taking a stronghold by both the Orc and the Undead. Tier 2 is just around the corner, ready to go. Ziggurats being added, Crypt Fiends being added as well, as we should be looking at a quick Lich with that Frost Armor. Frost Armor is the natural choice for the Undead, as that armor does reduce the effectiveness of that Blade Master, giving 3 additional armor and also slowing the attacks. Just exactly what you need if you are going up against an attack damage hero. Ogre Magi going to get taken out here. This 5-3-3 creep camp will give the Blade Master level 2. He really wants to get to level 3 as he does pick up Claws of Attack +6. Very, very powerful item right there as we are now looking... Oh, nope. Going straight to Fortress, not even grabbing the Shadow Hunter first. Also training up the Bestiary. No Spirit Lodge as of yet. And this is a very, very fast tech to tier 3. Not quite sure what to make of this. I don't believe the Blade Master is going to be going for any straight up tier 3 units straight off the bat. Meanwhile, the Death Knight down over here on the south side is already at level 3. Should be able to get an easy kill on this Null Overseer. Perhaps may even use a Death Coil if he suspects, yes, that the Blade Master is nearby. That 200 hit point instant hit, instant kill. As you see more creeps getting killed off to the north. Blade Master is also at level 3, both sides. Very, very strong right there. As we are looking at, well, perhaps the Blade Master hoping to get a strike in here onto that Death Knight. Meanwhile, Grunts are now down over here. They are regenerating a bit of hit points. Death Knight wandering around looking for those Grunts, and he does in fact see the tail end of them. Is he actually going to be able to find anything there as the Death Knight? Well, the Death Knight still looking for what exactly will be happening next. All right, you see the Grunts are off to the north. They are all healed up, ready to go for a small engagement. Lich is already out. He has a plethora of items just for a newly hatched hero. 4 items already ready to go. Gloves of Haste, obviously, to add in that Orb of Corruption a little bit later. Go do your homework. As we now see the Lich going to go ahead and engage right here. Ogre Warrior going to get taken out as the Lich is now finishing off the remainder of that creep camp. Back off to the north here. Shadow Hunter going to be going after these skeletal minions and just preventing any sort of sight here as the Blade Master looking to get some easy damage onto that Death Knight. Death Knight now down to 240 hit points. He's trying to get some damage here. Do we see a Dust of Appearance? Yes, we do. One, the mana stealing most likely was stolen by the Blade Master off of that Ogre Magi. Meanwhile, the Shadow Hunter is looking to get to level 2. You can see that the Murlocs are even joining in on the fight as well, as we are adding in a War Mill and getting up to Fortress. Bestiary nearly done. We don't see any sort of, well, Spirit Lodge as well as I forgot for just a moment. He's not going up against a Night Elf. He doesn't want Spirit Link, as that would be easily devoured by those destroyers. Blade Master now in a little bit of a dicey situation. He is currently revealed, needs to get away. Not quite sure why. He's just standing around to absorb a little bit more damage.
We're under attack.
Meanwhile, the Death Knight with level 1 Unholy Aura somehow keeping pace with that Blade Master who does not have Boots of Speed. Alright, here's the engagement here. Rock Golem, Frost Armor onto those heroes there. That Obsidian statue in the back could get picked off very, very quickly. Lich gonna go ahead and try and get engaged. Rock Golem immune to the cold armor from that Frost Armor there, as you now see that the Obsidian statue is once more down to about 294 hit points. Back off to the north, Shadow Hunter sitting at level 2, really wants to get to level 3. Ogre Magi, where is it? I believe it was it already taken down? I don't believe so. No, there it was hexed. As we now see the remaining units now getting taken out once again. Alright, Blade Master gonna go back to do a little bit more harassment. Where is he gonna go? How much damage can he really do? That Obsidian statue down to 305 hit points, getting regenerated by the Unholy Aura, as the Lich now sits at level 2, and you have to be a little bit more careful. Blade Master does get a Windwalk strike there, as the Dust of Appearance reveals that Blade Master once more. Alright, Blade Master hiding off to the north still, not quite sure what to make of it. You can see that there is a Pit Lord joining in on this fight, and a Pit Lord could devour Magic, the Howling Terror, and then add some bonus damage as well. This could be potentially a big issue. I don't know if he's attacking with Cleave or Howling Terror. There is a Shockwave, extra damage across the board. Blade Master is pretty much nearby, sitting inside this Ogre Lord right now, as the Raiders are now trying to engage. All right, Howling Terror. Are we going to see the Devour Magic? No, it is just going to actually be a really strong debuff there, as we are still going to go ahead and engage. There you go, the Destroyer regenerating a bunch of hit points. Now engaging Tauren Chieftain, gets a stomp onto all of those units as they're still fighting back and forth. Destroyers, well, all positioned in very, very strange spots right now. Death Knight in a little bit of trouble, down to 249 hit points. Frost Nova taking on a Coda Beast as the Death Knight down to 115 hit points, being forced to use the Scroll of Town Portal. Blade Master in a bit of trouble, but he is not revealed right now as the Scroll, oh wow, Shockwave from the Ogre Lord takes down some units. Blade Master has to be extremely careful, down to 68 hit points. A well-timed Shockwave could have taken down the Blade Master. Instead, well, all of those units will be able to live and fight another day. Who picked up the item? Tauren Chieftain picking up a Crystal Ball. Crystal Ball revealing the location there as the Death Knight, Pit Lord, and Lich now switching things up, going after the Ogre Lord on the other end of the map. Very, very powerful item right there. Death Coil onto the Lich, saving that now. No Obsidian Statues, only Destroyers, means that there's not going to be a lot of healing or mana for the remainder of the Undead army. Back off to the north, we can see that the Tauren Chieftain, Blade Master, and Shadowhunter are once again moving out. And I believe the long-term strategy may be to try and creep a little bit more and then perhaps set up an expansion. We do have the fortress, so a tiny Great Hall is an option. One of the best expansion options in the game, short of human players and speed building those town halls. Blade Master finishing off that Rock Golem right now, getting Devotion Aura. That should help, but not exactly the item that the Blade Master was in fact looking for. Every little bit will help, though, as the healing waves don't have to heal nearly as much. Forest Troll High Priest gonna finally get taken down. Shadowhunter sitting at 3. Tauren Chieftain getting to level 2, and now adds an Endurance Aura on top of that Devotion Aura. Tauren Chieftain now a walking pillar of move faster, hit faster, take less damage, as that Tauren Chieftain wants to get into that front line position to fight back against this Ogre Mauler and Ogre Magi creep camp. Death Knight, on the other hand, still getting harassed and chased by the Blade Master, who does have an Orb of Lightning. That Orb of Lightning purging units, causing them to stand still for just a second, does cause big issues as the Tauren Chieftain almost gets taken out. Healing Wave getting that Tauren Chieftain back up. He'll probably buy some healing salves and try to heal back up once more. There you go. He heals back up. I believe he sold a Book of the Dead. You do not want that liability when you know your opponent has already gotten Destroyers, as the Forest Troll High Priest looks like he will get taken down here in just a moment. Tauren Chieftain still has 200 hit points to heal. Blade Master back around over here, trying to cause more problems and issues for the Undead army. Shade is nearby, keeping track of all of this damage, as the Blade Master now being forced to retreat once more. Is the Shade gonna try and keep track of where that Blade Master is? A little bit more damage again, and that Blade Master down to 501 hit points and counting. Shadowhunter looking to perhaps get the Gargantuan Sea Turtle on the south side. Level 2 Healing Wave and level 2 Hex would be absolutely tremendous at this stage, as the armies of both sides are getting ready for, I believe, to be a big fight. Now, this next fight will determine the course of the game. If one player is able to do enough damage to the other, and it will pretty much be irrecoverable. If not, if both players suffer equal losses, then I believe the game should start to tip in favor of the Orc. The Orc being able to set up expansions very easily, as this, I'm not sure why the Gargantuan Sea Turtle was actually just running away, swimming around, as he's now finally going after these units here. Blade Master nearby, is he revealed? That is the big question, as you now see the Raiders are now trying to engage off over here. Gargantuan Sea Turtle is still dealing very, very big damage. Blade Master gets the item. It's a Ring of Protection +3, as the Blade Master has a little bit more armor once again. All right, Destroyers going after Howl of Terror. Was it used? No. Blade Master now continuing to fight behind enemy lines, as another big stomp from the Tauren Chieftain. All right, let's take a look at this. Lich now going after those Troll Berserkers. Those Troll Berserkers causing big, big problems for those Destroyers, but it looks like those Troll Berserkers are starting to get focused down. Orc heroes, two of them are now getting low on hit points. Tauren Chieftain and Shadowhunter. Tauren Chieftain gets a Healing Wave bounce. Once again, is it going to get stomped in there once more? It looks like he will need to use a Potion of Healing instead, as he's still looking to fight back and forth here. Tauren Chieftain is in a tight spot. Death Coil onto the Lich as the Kodo Beast is taking far too much damage. Alright, there's a big stomp right there, slowing down the damage again as the Death Coil should be coming in from the Death Knight. No, not enough mana, does have Mana Stone and needs to try and save these units again. Wind Rider's now coming across as well. He's going to be able to focus down one of those destroyers. That's the big question. It looks like he will not. For Troll Berserker as the Destroyer finally gets taken down there and an Obsidian Statue. Both sides losing heavy casualties as the Tauren Chieftain may get to level 3 here. Alright, Destroyer down to 261 hit points, jumps back up to 591 after some healing as the Pit Lord now tries to escape, will be able to teleport away and sends everyone back home. 45 over 60 supply for the Orc player compared to 50 over 60. Both sides pretty much neck and neck as we do see a Great Hall now being constructed. Both sides suffering about the same casualties, but because of the Orc player's ease at setting up an expansion, he may have a better lead going into the next fight. He can trade, as long as he trades efficiently here, he knows that his opponent is not going to be able to take down that expansion as an ensnare goes down on the Death Knight. Death Knight is in a bit of trouble trying to run away. Meanwhile, Troll Berserker is going to go ahead and engage here. Raider now getting taken out. Death Knight is still in big situation as a big stomp does come across. Alright, Raider now getting taken down. Death Knight down to 89 hit points. Tauren Chieftain unable to get into position. Speed Scroll. Blade Master trying to run after. There's an ensnare as the Windwalk Strike takes down the Death Knight. Tauren Chieftain low on hit points. Shadowhunter down to 55 hit points. Is he going to get taken down? That could be the issue right now. Destroyer trying to chase after the unit. Shadowhunter looks like he will be able to escape after a Raider throws a net and ensnares down the Destroyer. Shadowhunter being saved at the very last moment. Tauren Chieftain now healing back up as well, as the Orc player is going to lick his wounds and come back even stronger. Expansion is already up and running. Main base has about 5 minutes left of mining, and with that, unless the Undead army quickly finds this expansion, the economic advantage will be far too much. Back down across over here, you can see that this army is not engaging right now. Unless the Orc, I believe the Undead army probably has somewhere around a 55 to 60 supply army. Let's take a look. No, 49. So he's staying at low upkeep still as the Blade Master now tries to engage. All right, Blade Master in serious trouble. Is he going to be able to get away? Blade Master down to 45 hit points. Pit Lord is in position. Blade Master escapes at 52 as he now runs back home. But this is still no time to take a breather for WFZ. He still does not know about this expansion off to the north. That is going to be a big issue, not taking that out, as we now see a 40% advantage for Fly. Fly sitting at, what, 14 gold a second compared to 10. That is a big difference, and he's also going to be dealing with a larger army. That is, WFZ will be dealing against a larger army since he is finally in low upkeep. I believe both sides are currently in low upkeep, so 7 to 14, excuse me, in terms of gold discrepancy, as more raiders and more units are getting added once again. 59 over 70 supply, more units being added. Not quite sure why the bestiary isn't training up more units. If you have room in the supply bank, you should be trying to spend all of it, as we do see a Shade holding position across here. And that is just going to be bad news indeed, as the Shade realizes, you know what, there's an expansion here and I now need to take care of it. Shade just following things around right now. Pit Lord is in position. Tauren Chieftain is in position. There you go. There's a big howl of terror, as we could see all of those destroyers trying to get a lot of mana. Wind Rider is going to get taken down. Tauren Chieftain does get a big stomp. Shadowhunter gets up to level 4. Still fighting Frost Nova. Frost Nova and attacks from those destroyers, quickly focusing down those Troll Berserkers. Troll Berserkers trying to get away, and the Troll Berserkers getting focused down so quickly could become a problem. Wind Rider is now taking down, as WFZ is just somehow eating this army alive, and those destroyers just doing far too much damage, as the focus fire is really starting to take a toll. Alright, Death Coil saving another unit here. Kodo Beast trying to run away, unable to do so. 48 over 80 supply. WFZ now doing what seemed to be impossible moments ago, able to deal so much damage here. As you can see, the destroyers are, well, one destroyer will finally get taken down. There it goes. Reinforcements on the forest, on the troll berserkers still. All right, another stomp coming in. Are there enough raiders and troll berserkers to finish off the remaining units? That is the big question now, as you see that the Death Knight is using a potion of lesser invulnerability. Crit Fiend now getting taken down. Tauren Chieftain gets up to the level, as we now have Fly finishing the game. WFZ, he exchanged very well in the very last fight, but still was dealing with an uphill battle because of the economy. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed this best of one.